All right, everyone. Our next speaker is Maraia Tanner, and she's with Star Harbor Academy. Welcome, Maraia.
Hi, thank you, James. Really excited to be here and speak with you all. So appreciate the invitation. I'll share a bit about myself quickly. I feel like my story is, sort of relevant to the topic today, which is, what are the new pathways to space that are emerging? So my name is Maraia Tanner, and I'm not going to spend too much time on myself because really, we're here to talk about you, your sisters, brothers, nieces, nephews, parents, children, friends, neighbors, colleagues, and all the opportunities that are beginning to open up, for the non-traditional astronaut. So I'll start by saying space has always been my thing. I honestly can't remember a time when I didn't have my eyes on the sky. And I always wanted to be an astronaut. And when you're a kid saying you want to be an astronaut, people are excited for you and they believe with you and, go get it. And then you start to get a little bit older and the message starts to change. Well, there's only a few people that get selected, so you better have a plan B. So I found when I went away to university, instead of pursuing that path, I got sidetracked for a little bit with a degree in political economy of industrial societies. But in my senior year, I was really struggling, and my mom said, Maraia, what are you doing? Space is your thing. You really need to be doing that. So I researched my options, and that day I switched to becoming a physics major. Didn't really know anything about it, had never taken this physics class, but fortunately it was the best decision I ever made. And so I was, PhD bound, because at the time there were really only two pathways into becoming a NASA astronaut. You could be a military pilot, or you could be a PhD scientist. And so that was my plan. But just before my graduation, I was offered a job at TRW, so now I'm dating myself, now Northrop Grumman Space Technology in Redondo Beach, to work on a really fantastic NASA telescope called SIM, space-based interferometry mission. And my would-be boss said, the lead engineer is likely going to get to fly with the telescope on the shuttle. And so it was like this epiphany occurred, wait, I could go to space without getting my PhD. Done, sold. Unfortunately, that telescope died with the shuttle program, but the net effect was that it opened my eyes to the idea that maybe, just maybe, there were going to be other pathways to getting to space. And so I started paying attention to what was going on in the commercial space arena. I volunteered with X Prize, cried the day that Scaled Composites, now Virgin Galactic, won. Felt like a new day was dawning. And then I became a flight crew for Zero Gravity Corporation, and got hundreds of parabolas under my belt. Really got to see the research that was being done, and saw that no one was really thinking about training. So we put together a phenomenal team, and have been working on it for the last number of years, with two primary intentions. One, to create access and more diverse access for people to get to space. And then additionally, how can we leverage the enthusiasm and resources that are being applied to space, especially now, towards making life better at home? So, slides, there we go. So today, progress is being made towards greater access, slow though it may be for some of us. But I would say it's still not great. There aren't a lot of flights occurring, and those that are occurring, are still generally government or with paid access, requiring quite a bit of capital. So, the current pathways, I'm sure everybody's familiar with. We have the traditional NASA government space agencies, commercial spaceflight participants, the pay to play, or win the lotto. We've been calling it. You can be gifted a flight or a contest winner. Which is, I would say, the most likely access right now for those that don't have millions of dollars to put towards the space flight. Actually win the lotto. Soon, and this work is being done right now, is the commercial professional crew, operators and payload mission specialists, not very different from what occurs right now. Their former NASA government astronauts will be making up initially, especially, a large segment of this population. But there are, we're in conversations with virtually all of the commercial space station contract winners and folks that are looking to put people in space. And we know that there are going to be privately trained staff astronauts that these companies are going to be hiring. I would say there's probably not a lot of change for this category of astronaut. Again, we're looking at pilots, scientists, engineers. These folks will be fully versed in station operations, can manage diverse crew and passenger dynamics. And similar to on-ground researchers being able to hire NASA astronauts, these professional crew will also, or those companies will be able to be hired to perform work and experiments on board. Some of the things that are happening that are new is these commercial private crew and private sector employee opportunities. So there will be privately trained mission-specific astronauts. These will be coming from a variety of industries. These could be researchers that are selected to conduct their own research on board the station. Traditionally, there's been, a number of challenges for researchers on the ground. One is they have to really understand the environment that they're designing their experiment for. And often, there's a not negligible percentage of experiments that do not generate the data that they're hoping for because the initial design was inadequate in one way or another. And so one of the opportunities when you're sending the scientists themselves is they can make real-time adjustments on the fly. And so that's of extreme interest to a lot of industries that we've been speaking with. Likewise, the time it takes for data to get from the station processed into the researchers traditionally has, could take weeks or months. Now, as of, I believe this year, that has been increased, down to hours because of some onboard processing that's possible. However, it's still not a substitute for scientists being able to be there and manage their experiments themselves. So that's one area that we see a lot of interest. Pharmaceuticals, biotech, agritech, energy, the list is actually quite long. And encompasses, research NASA is not interested in. There's a lot of research that either doesn't apply for grants in the first place or gets rejected because it's not a topic that NASA is interested in looking at, but the private sector may be. Company proprietary research, as I mentioned, real-time adjustments, space medicine, the possibility of doing human studies in space really hasn't been a thing, and there's all kinds of issues and ethics involved with that, but that's something that is definitely being looked at. Likewise, the entertainment industry, if there was a film crew who has been trained to operate in space, that time is going to be more effective than if, you know, studios try and bring up their own camera folks, for example. And so that's a conversation that's occurring. In space manufacturing, engineers, technicians, machinists, also education, teachers, students. There was a call with NASA earlier this week where the question came up, you know, what are the policies going to be related to, you know, sending teenagers? And you know, it's a whole new world. You know, this is not something I think NASA has really considered before now. So that's all being looked at. So one of the things that Star Harbor is doing that we're really, really excited about is, you know, we're creating this incredible facility, Boeing 767 for parabolic flight, very, very large pool, neutral buoyancy tank, high gravity centrifuge, hypobaric chambers for high altitude, low pressure, low oxygen environments, hyperbaric chambers for pool safety primarily, but also some research, space sim lab, human performance center, land-based and underwater habitats, and for long duration mission training. And one of the things that we're really excited about is, you know, we're creating this trainer-astronaut internship. So we'll be hiring folks to come in and, you know, with relevant backgrounds to become trainers for Star Harbor. In that process, we'll be learning all there is to know about, you know, all these various environments, get trained up themselves, station specific and vehicle specific training, depending on where they're looking to go afterward. And then at the end of, right now, it looks like it's going to be about a 3-year period. And this is an employment position. So you're getting paid instead of having to go and pay hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to get this training on your own. You'll be able to get hired as a trainer, go through this program, and at the end of 3 years, be certified to fly and can actually apply for one of those professional crew positions that I spoke about earlier. You know, one of the other things that has really struck us, and it was really reinforced on that call this week, is the medical standards that NASA has for NASA astronauts. You know, you basically have to be a perfect human specimen to get selected. The number of disqualifying criteria is extraordinary. Now it's different if you've been selected. They had a, you know, fix it and fly them policy. So if you've been selected and they've already spent money on your training and your education, you know, they will do whatever they can to keep you flying. But to get selected in the first place, you know, it's a very narrow bandwidth of the folks that will qualify. So, you know, some of the questions that we're asking, and we're fortunate to be working with a lot of really, really talented individuals and institutions. We have an MOU with Ann Sheets Medical, just signed with National Jewish Health. We're talking to UTMB, University of Texas Medical, and a number of other institutions that are really wanting to look at, you know, what is really safe to fly? You know, do you have to be that perfect human specimen to be effective in space? The follow-on question to that is, you know, then what changes need to occur within the vehicles in the station if you're going to have a broader spectrum of folks present? Because, you know, right now the medical capability on ISS, you know, is there is some, but it's really not set up to handle major events. So, you know, when you broaden that spectrum, what new capabilities and resources do you have to have on board? And that's a question that, you know, we're getting answered, and a lot of very, very interesting discussion is coming out of that. Also, you know, educational minimums. You know, do you have to have a master's, PhD? You know, what are the knowledge and skills that are really needed to do that job? Is it necessary to be trained for every eventuality, or can new standards be set that are, I don't want to say good enough, but good enough, because the commercial industry is not going to have the tolerance for 3 to 4 years and $15 to $20 million to train folks to live on the stations. But how low can we lower that bar and still ensure safety and effective results? So I ran through that pretty quickly, so I wanted to make sure we had time for questions, and happy to answer any you might have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maria. Are there
Yeah.
any questions?
Right. Thank you so much for your work. It's very important and groundbreaking. Hopefully some of that will be on Mars one day. And my name is Bill Gardner, by the way. And the modern health science is advancing so quickly. What do you think of the new discoveries about insulin resistance, hyperinsulinemia, and insulin sensitivity as an overlooked or recently found element of health that is affecting the astronauts already?
Interesting. So as I mentioned, I'm a physicist, not a doctor, but we have been having conversations with a number of space medicine doctors, and also folks that work in the different abilities space. So meaning, people that aren't just maybe dealing with diabetes and blood issues, but also maybe are in a wheelchair or have prosthetics. What are the accessibility parameters that the new stations and new space vehicles can accommodate, so that we can really broaden it up to as many people as possible? And so that's in fact, it was interesting on the call with NASA earlier this week. There was a lot of conversation about diversity and bringing greater diversity to the commercial stations. But the sort of underlying subtext, which I thought was interesting, was that the assumption was that everybody was still fully enabled. And I apologize if I'm getting the terminology wrong. I'm not meaning to be offensive to anyone. Because there's a huge population of individuals who'd be interested in traveling to space that, because of physical limitations, are currently barred. And does it really need to be that way? So, I think there's a number of, especially the very common conditions, like you mentioned, diabetes, those rates have been, skyrocketing over the last few decades. So if we have conditions like that, they're automatic excluders. There's a lot of people good people that could be flying that probably won't. So yeah, I do think that there's going to be a lot of effort put into solutions.
Hi, Maraia. My name is Gary Schneider from the University of Colorado Health, biomedical engineer over there.
Great.
I just want to say thank you so much for your talk tonight. It's been amazing to hear how far you guys have come. I've been in contact with Aaron Bonilla from your facility several years ago, and you guys have just skyrocketed in such a short amount of time. So I guess my question for tonight is, you had mentioned the trainer-astronaut internship program. What would be the best way to get involved, both for myself as an engineer and someone studying it, but then also for our amputee population out of University of Colorado Health? We have some folks in the OI program that are really interested in working with you guys.
Oh, fantastic. So I would say, right now, my best suggestion would probably be to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or Shabam Garg would also be a good one, which I think if you go into LinkedIn, you'd probably be able to find him. And send a message. If I get a random connection request, then often I will ignore it. But if it comes with a message, then I always respond. And we'll be keeping a short list when it comes time to hire, which I believe we'll be looking at. So as far as our schedule goes, we signed the proper purchase sale agreement for the land last October. We're currently in the architectural engineering design phase right now. We're expecting to put a shovel in the ground. Probably first thing, we're going to be located just south of Denver. So after the thaw in the spring. And then we're looking at about 2.5 to 3 years construction. And then we'll be doors open, but we'll be hiring the trainers probably about a year before that. And in the meantime, there may also be opportunities to get involved in the curriculum creation, depending on people's areas of specialization.
Very cool stuff. Thank you so much. On the parabolic flight opportunities, there's currently a couple of providers on that, but their prices are fairly high. When you look at that market, is it the kind of thing that if you can have the price, you get 10 times the customers, or what do you see the opportunities there?
Yeah, I have to be careful what I say because, I absolutely support, zero gravity, and they've done an amazing job for the last years providing these experiences for people. I think there are a number of ways in which, we'll be able to create a really dynamic experience. And more importantly, one of the opportunities, we filed a patent about a year and a half ago, I want to say, that will take the cost for a medium-sized, to small payload for research purposes, down from the tens of thousands to about $1,500 to $2,000, because we'll be able to fit many more of them on board any given flight. So, I like to say this puts microgravity research in the realm of a PTA raise. This can make it available to high school groups, university students. It no longer has to be something huge that requires massive amounts of grant funding to participate in. This is something that kids and their PTA organizations will be able to participate in, and or researchers that before could only afford to maybe do one flight or maybe two, now could do dozens, and engineers could iterate on their designs to make sure that they're ready to roll before they actually end up with a launch date. So it's pretty exciting, some of the changes that are coming. Yeah, I see one question. What adverse health conditions are actually beneficial for a space mission? I don't know, but that's a really interesting question. I will look into it. Yeah, I'm not sure if there are any, but I will talk to our folks and find out.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Maraia. We really appreciate you joining our conference today.
Yeah, you bet. All right, have a good one.